So if you notice something isn't working, like if you go to test it, your code isn't working and you get all kind of errors, the first thing you want to do is make sure you name things correctly. So when you take your arrow tool and you click on the maze, check and see it says maze. That's the number one problem that people run into. The number two problem people run into is they create a background, like they create like sand or something, water, and they include that in the maze movie clip, and that causes all kinds of problems. So those are really the kind of the two things that I see most at this point. But say everything's working, and we want to make a second layer that if the viewer gets through it, then they go on to a winner scene. So I'm gonna go to scene right now. It's set up for next scene, and I'm just going to write a winner. So I'm going to take my paint tool and we'll say yellow and winner. So I'm just going to put in win. Yay. And we'll do some little fireworks or something. Yay. Win. Doesn't look great. Now, when I test the movie, so I'm going to hit Command Return again, you'll notice I don't see the winner scene. So why not? Well, let's take a look at the code real quick. I'm going to jump back to Maze. I'm going to open up the actions window. And so right now I have the actions window, and you notice there's no actions there. But over here, if I click on this, that'll open up the actions there. The very first line says stop. So what it's going to do is it's going to freeze it and hold it on the maze without going forward. So now what we want to do is create a way to go forward so that we can go to the winner scene. I'm going to do that by jumping down to frame or line 11 here, and I'm going to get rid of these two forward slashes. And it's going to turn on a code called handle collision. And basically what that code means is if I touch something. We already have it set up for the wall, so this is going to be something else. In this case, it's going to be the exit. And so I'm going to remove the brackets off of these little guys here. And you'll see a code that says if player hit test object exit, so I made the exit before, and so now what I'm saying is if the player touches the exit, then I want it to go to and play frame 1 of the scene called next scene, in which we put the word win and the little fireworks. For every open bracket, you have to have a closed bracket. So right now we have one open bracket, two open brackets, and I have one closed bracket. So if I try to test it, it won't work. So what I'm going to do is just remove one of these. So now I have two open. Here's one, two open, and I have two closed. And now if I test it, if my player gets all the way to next scene or to the exit, I should win. So let's test it. So here's my player, and I'm going to have to beat the maze. And so I made it kind of easy, and I can pass through. And now if I touch this, if the green ball touches the green box, it should go to the winner scene. You ready? Here we go. Bam, I win. And you'll see it's kind of going nuts down here. And what's happening is I never told it to stop looking for the maze. So that's what all this is saying, is that it's still looking for the maze, which there isn't one on this scene. So that's why it's not enough to wreck the game, but it will give you an output, which we'll talk about in a second. So that's how we start kind of coding. If you look here, I have a code called bad guy. And so I can make your player, if he touches bad guys, I can make certain things happen. Like I can make him lose points, or I can make him lose a life, or I can make him go back to the beginning. So what we're going to do in a second is we're going to make it go back to the beginning where he started.